everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with the Brookses. For those of you guys who are just jumping in, my wife is taking care of me. She's always fixing my things.
Good morning,
My name is
guys.
Glenn P. Brooks Jr. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, and this lovely light skinned young lady right here is
Sheri Brooks Jr., author, speaker, relationship, and life balance coach as well. It's great to see you guys this lovely, lovely Saturday morning.
lovely, 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 lovely. So, for those of you guys who are just jumping in, maybe you are catching us for the very first time. Sheri and I created a couple of years ago an online relationship academy. It's called Marriages and Parenting Successfully. We've got our t shirts on here. And if you want to know more about what it looks like to grow your relationships in a really, really healthy way, that's the tribe for you, right? That's the tribe that you want to join and you want to become a part of because at the end of the day, babe, I think that the only way that healthy relationships can grow and be sustained is through community. And so we created that for couples who are either married, maybe you are engaged, you might even be living together. I'm just keeping it 100. And you're trying to figure out how to take that thing to a healthy level. That place is for you. We also have a group specifically designed for parents, whether you are co-parent, we're going to talk a lot about that today, or a grandparent or a foster parent, a biological parent, obviously, that parenting room is for you. And then we also have a singles community.
Right, we have a room for singles, and this is for singles who want to get married one day. This is for singles who have an interest in being married one day. If you're single and you're satisfied and you're fine just being single, this may not be the room for you. So we're trying to help people be prepared for marriage one day.
Right.
So if you're single and you're looking to get married one day, this is the group for you. And we also have a group just for women that meets every Sunday, and we have a men's only group that meets on Sundays as well. Those are more spiritual development type groups,
Yep.
just helping you to really focus on you, the whole you, the holistic you,
Yep.
spiritual, mentally, as well as physically in those groups.
Yeah, and so guys, if you, again, I'm trying to make my sign get a little bit smaller. www.thecrcoach.com is the link that you want to go to. If somebody could put that in the chat, that would be super great, so that you guys can find out more about that. I'm looking down at the comments. Good morning, Nikay. Good to see you. Good to see you, Candace
Good morning,
Smith,
Eric.
my sister from the same mister.
Hey,
Good to see you, sweetie. Sidna, good to see you. Eric Jones Jr., shout out to the MAPS community who's jumping in right quick. If you guys are blending a family and if you have a relationship at all with your co-parents, you're in a co-parenting relationship with another set of parents, put a one in the chat. Put a one in the chat. Whether your kids are grown, I don't care how old they are, but if you are in a co-parenting situation of any kind, I want you to put a one in the chat because we're going to talk a little bit about some things, babe, I think is sort of just fundamental to helping people to grow and level up. We're going to characterize it by three different kinds of co-parenting relationships. It's okay. It's okay. No worries. No worries. And I think that at this particular point, we really, really need to focus on it. Let me just say this off the break. Blending is hard. I'm going to say that again. Blending families is not easy. It is actually hard. And the reason why it's so hard is because you're dealing with so many dynamics, with so many different people, so many different relationships. It is not simple. It's not an easy thing to pull off. So I want you guys to understand that we get that. We understand that. We certainly do not want to minimize that. And I think that a lot of times, Cherie, when people see other people winning, in any arena, what happens is we have this tendency, I know I do, where I'm thinking that I can just go and do that, or it should be happening for me, or what makes them better than me, and why are they winning and I'm not? And I begin this, I think, a very dangerous game of comparing my situation to theirs and beginning to measure what someone else is doing against what I'm doing, and then feel either really bad or, quite honestly, I may feel from an ego standpoint, I may feel, oh, at least my situation ain't as bad as theirs. Like, so I'm feeling, so, but I think that that's dangerous. And I think
Right.
that everybody's situation is very different. And you have to be self aware and be able to evaluate your own
Right,
self.
and I think comparing is very dangerous because number one, even if you see somebody that's at a level that maybe you admire and you wish your relationship was there, I think there's one thing to admire somebody and where they are, but to try to emulate what they have or to say, hey, I want that, and then have a disdain for what you have is very dangerous. Because number one, you don't know what they went through to get to where they are.
Yep.
And unless you're willing to do what they did,
Yep.
you have to be honest. Can you really achieve that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And oftentimes, what happened, the steps that it took to get them, you may not want to go through what they went through to
Right.
get to where
Absolutely.
they are.
No, that's real.
You're seeing the end result of something, and so I think it's great to embrace your relationship where you are. You do want to, continue to work on it and try to improve it, but embrace where you are, where things are today, and then look for how can you improve it. Versus trying to necessarily, that whole saying, the grass is greener on the other side. It ain't always greener on the other side.
Yeah.
Now, when it does come to co-parenting relationships, I do believe that there are 3 levels, and we're going to get into that today, of relationships. And these are benchmark levels.
Yeah.
There are levels in between.
Sure.
So you may fall somewhere in between these, but these are benchmarks to kind of strive for in your relationship. You can kind of see, okay, are we at this level? Okay, let's try to strive for the next level.
Right.
And I think that this is because these are more healthier levels. And
right.
So it's not I necessarily want a Will and Jada relationship with Sheri, Will's ex-wife relationship. That may not be what you want for your relationship.
It may not be ideal either.
Right, depending on the situation. But what are some things you can put in place to kind of get closer to it in the sense as far as the cohesiveness and the functionality of the relationship? It doesn't have to look like their relationship, or even like our relationship with Deirdre and Darren, which are Justin's parents. Your relationship with your co-parents may not look like ours, but what you're looking for is that cohesiveness, that ability to be functional, to be mature adults, in order to focus on what's best for the child.
Before we get into the 3 different kinds, baby, why is that important? Why is it so important for us to strive towards growing? Because that's what we're going to talk about today. How do you grow your whatever level you're on with your co-parents? How do you grow that? Like, how does that look? And so, why is that even important?
Because it's important for the children. Because your children are watching you, and how you react and respond to their biological or to their bonus parent. That's how they're going to respond. So if you're disrespectful to the other parent, they're going to feel like they can be disrespectful because you're going to follow your lead. There's going to be a level of, they're not going to have as much respect of the authority of that person in their life if you don't show respect for that person.
That's good, babe. That's good.
Also, it's just, children are supposed to respect adults.
Right.
And you want them to be able to respect whatever authority figures are in their life, whether it's a co-parent, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a police officer.
Right.
If you're teaching them by your lack of respect for their co-parent how to disrespect authority, you're teaching them that indirectly.
Right.
And that will show up.
Right.
It may not show up today, but it'll show up eventually in their life because you're showing them how to disrespect an authority person, because even though you and that parent aren't together anymore, that's still there. So in the situation so if I'm not with my daughter's father anymore, if I'm disrespectful to her, that teaches her to be disrespectful to men.
Right.
That teaches her to be disrespectful to authority figures because of my disdain for that person.
Got it.
And I'm not saying you got to like each other.
Yeah.
But you got to learn how to be friendly
toward one another. We're going to get into that, babe, real quick. Before we get into that, I just want to say shout out to everybody in the MAPS community. If you are a part of the MAPS community, do me a favor, put hashtag MAPS Rocks in the chat. Put that in the chat. We also want to encourage you guys that coming up in November, Sheri and I have been asked to be a part of a really, really, really hot event. It is a retreat specifically designed for couples and for people who are blending families. And so when we talk about that, there are times because it gets really hard that you just need to pull away. You need to refresh. You need to regroup. You need to get your mind right. This is going to be that. We're going to, I think, November the 18th through the 23rd, I think it is. It's on our website, www.thecrcoach.com. Put that in the chat for us, guys. The details will be there. But what we want you guys to know is that you're invited. There are a few slots left. We're going to be in the Outer Banks of North Carolina.
And a beautiful facility.
Oh, my God. The facility is off the chain. It's a mansion that has 24 rooms in it. And this is going to be obviously an exclusive kind of intimate setting where we're going to go through, and over the course of a week, we're going to drill down. Each day is going to be something different. We're not going to spend a ton of time each day to do workshops. and that sort of stuff. But the ones that we're doing are going to be really, really comprehensive stuff that you can physically do, tools that we're going to equip you with that you can walk away with.
Right.
And so the amenities is off the chain in this place.
Right. It's a beautiful facility, and like Glenn said, this is not going to be your traditional couples retreat. We're going to do a lot of interactive activities. We're going to do a lot of things to help you guys really work out how to better relate with
Yeah.
your spouse, how to better relate with your co-parents, and be able to really engage with one another.
Yeah.
And also, it's going to be plenty of time for you guys to enjoy the facility.
Oh, absolutely.
To
And
enjoy
each
some
other.
time
Yeah,
together.
no doubt.
It's a beautiful setting. We invite you to please join us. Please go to our website, www.thecrcoach.com, where you can learn more information about it. As Glenn said, spaces are limited. It's filling up. There are only 24 slots for 24 couples. We're over half filled, and we're going to be closing registration, I think, the end of July.
Yeah.
And so you want to go ahead and secure your space. There's a deposit to secure your space, and then you can make payments to pay the balance. So if you're interested in attending that event,
we certainly want you to. As a matter of fact, next week, I believe it is, we finally nailed down Gerald and Tanya Williamson, who are the creators of Married to the Ring. And it's really Married to the Covenant of the Ring when they talk about the ring, and they do a whole boxing ring kind of a display, and they go through phenomenal teachers, incredible people. We're going to talk to them next week about their blended family scenario, guys. It is off the chain. I'm trying to tell you, they got a really different situation. We've been trying to nail down their schedules. They're really, really busy. They run several businesses, and so it's going to be fun. So we're excited to team up with Married to the Ring. So next week, Lord willing, we're going to get a chance to catch up with Gerald and Tanya Williamson, talk about their story, talk about why are we doing this event, and how it can benefit everyone there. So again, if you are interested, go to www.thecrcoach.com. All the information is there. Can someone please put that in the chat for us? And do us a favor, guys, share this out with as many people as you can. Go grab the link. If you got to repurpose this and put it on your Facebook page, whatever the case may be, let's do that. And let's go ahead and get into this content, babe. So I want to talk a little bit about sort of the three different, and these are, as coaches, we get the opportunity to work with a bunch of people in relationships on various levels. Blending families is one of them. And in blending families, you've got to navigate the co-parenting situation. A lot of people call that the baby's mama drama or the baby daddy issues or whatever the case may be. And I know it can be hard. It can just be really, really difficult. You and I have been blessed in the sense that our kids are now grown. And we don't go through everything that we've gone through in the past like we did, because we built something that we wanted to be, we could be proud of, and something that we wanted in our space. Right. And I want y'all to hear this. Blending any family takes building. Put that in the chat. If you're going to properly blend a family, you're going to have to be willing to build. And when I say build, I'm sitting here, you know, even as I look around the Dream Center here at Custom Homes of Virginia, they're builders, right? They build custom homes. That's what they do. Those homes are beautiful when they're done. You know, but the work that it takes to actually get them from out of the ground to something that people can live in is a whole different situation.
And that just goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Your blended family, you have to custom design what your blended family is going to look like.
Yeah.
So don't necessarily model it after someone else's. You have to customize it to fit your family.
There's no such thing as a cookie cutter blended family.
No, not at all. not at all.
Right.
I mean, there ain't no cookie cutter traditional family, but it really is when it comes to blended family.
So I want y'all to answer this question, and I want you to put in the chat which one are you. And we're gonna go 1, 2, or 3, right? 1, 2, or 3. How would you characterize your co-parenting relationship? This is going to give us some insight even after this is over. When we go back and we want to engage you guys, this is going to help us understand who's in the audience today. So number 1 is your relationship could be characterized as either super friends or what we call ride or die, right? That is, y'all are cool.
Y'all do family functions
together. Y'all may go on vacations together. Every time there's a birthday, y'all all are collaborating on how it can be good.
It's drama free.
It's really, really drama free. Now, it's not problem free.
Right, but it's drama.
You have to navigate. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not the absence of issues,
Right.
but the way you go through it are really healthy. There's a tremendous high level of respect. Maybe is probably a good way to
And you
characterize.
guys are, you could say you're friends.
Yeah,
You're friendly.
you're
You're a
no,
little more. You're
yeah,
friends.
you're friends.
You're friends with each
Yeah,
other.
you're more than friendly. You're
You're
actually
friends.
friends. It doesn't necessarily mean
Y'all
that
ain't gonna
y'all
hang
hang
out
out every day
every day.
and socialize every. I'm not talking about like that. Y'all may not even live in the same city,
Right.
but you are legit friends. If that's you, if that's your relationship, put a one in the chat. Number two is what we call what, babe?
Business partners. That means you guys are very amicable. You have learned how to navigate co-parenting. It's almost like a contractual agreement. You guys can have discussions about the issues that need to be talked about professionally without insulting one another, without crossing those lines. Very respectful of one another. But you wouldn't say you're not friends, but you guys you're able to do what needs to be done without there being disrespect, without crossing boundaries with each other, and so it's really very business-like.
Yeah, not a lot of yelling and screaming.
Right.
There are disagreements in the business partners
Right, but you're
relationship,
able
but
to negotiate through those
I
challenges.
think that's a great word,
Right,
babe.
you're able to negotiate through those challenges.
Yeah, yeah, and it almost can sometimes feel a little bit stale or
Yeah.
sterile.
Sterile.
You know, like we're just kind of mechanical. Probably
Right.
is another word that
You
I'd
go
like.
through the motion. You do what you have to do with that person in order to do what's best for the child. But there's no drama in the sense that there's a great deal of respect for each other. You
Right.
may have disagreements,
Yes.
but you do it respectfully.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the last thing I'd like to
And
talk.
that's number two. So
That's number two. That's your relationship. Put that.
Put number two.
Absolutely, put number two. The last one we're gonna call toxic. Okay, we're just gonna any words that you can think of when it comes to toxic or dangerous or something that don't get along well together. That's what this is. We call it bleach and ammonia. Some people call it oil and water. You just don't mix. It's just hard. Like you don't like them, they don't like you.
It's just
the kids, spark stuff on a regular basis. What my mama said and the way we do it at my daddy house is da da da. And before you know it, you hear rumors that they talking about you.
You're going back and forth constantly.
It's
emotionally charged.
It's draining.
Yes.
Right. So I want you guys, if that's you, I want you to put a number three in the chat. We get it. We get it. We get it. We get it. Guys, let me just say this so that you're real clear. We're going to be super transparent with you guys this morning. And we're going to talk about how over the last 20 years, Sheri and I have been able to sort of evolve at least the relationship that we have with my ex-wife, our bonus parent, and our son Justin's mom, and now her husband. She wasn't married when Sheri and I first got married. And so she was a single mother. Just a quick background. Deirdre and I were married for 12 years. We knew each other as children. Our families go way back. Our families know each other for even before we were born. And but we didn't grow up in the same town, same we would just kind of once, twice a year might be a family function, Christmas, whatever. I'm saying town because it's not really a city, because I didn't grow up in a city. I grew up in the county, but they lived in a different county than we did. We all lived in the same metropolitan area, but we just didn't come up in the same place, in the same neighborhood at all. So I don't want you to get the idea that because we were childhood friends, we spent every day together. We didn't live in the same neighborhood, anything like that. So as a result of that, there was relationship, right? So there was a friendship. So when we began dating, obviously, that was all cool and fun and all that sort of stuff. And then, we later got married. We later had a son, and 12 years later, we got divorced. It was bad. It was really, really bad. Emotional because of the families that were involved. Probably 98.9% of the breakup, I can honestly say, was absolutely my fault. The only reason I leave 2% out there is because my mother always used to tell me, wherever there are two people involved, it's never all one person's fault. So for that reason alone, my mama's logic, I'll throw her 2% just for human error, right? So, but truly, guys, I was an idiot. I was self-centered. I was egotistical. I was narcissistic. I know that's a stretch, and it's hard for you to believe that, but I was that guy, and I was a horrible person in terms of how I treated people. I had a good heart in terms of my motives, but it was always about me. And so because of that, I was toxic. And I didn't know that I was an unsafe individual. And I showed up in relationships that way. So with all that being said, I wanted to characterize that, Cherie, so that people could understand that when Deirdre and I got divorced, it was very much oil and water. It was very much bleach and ammonia. It was very much toxic. And over the course of 20 years, even prior to you coming in our relationship, more than Justin is 25. So for more than I began working on blending before I ever met you and before I ever got married again. And that was a conscious decision that I made. So with that being said, today, with my wife, I would say we're super friends. I would say that we are ride or dies. I would say that we have evolved to that number one pole position, if you will, because of the work that we did. And I'm going to teach you guys a couple of principles on what I did to be able to get there. But I want Cherie to chime in on her relationship with her ex and now where we've evolved from there. And then we're going to talk about the different dynamics.
Right, and for me, my daughter's father and I got divorced. Well, we got married when I was 19. Very young, very immature, both of us. We divorced when my daughter was, we separated when my daughter was 2, and I moved back to Maryland, and so we were apart. He was not really actively involved in her life. We tried in the beginning, the first couple of years, partially because of distance, and then just lack of being able to put in the effort on his part because of where he was in his life at that time. And so he was an absent parent for most of her life. So I did not really have to deal with a co-parent. I raised her pretty much on my own. I got married again the second time and then married Glenn later. But the one thing that I did do, even during that course of time, was that I never badmouthed him. I never stopped him from being involved. It was just where he was in his life at that point in time. He wasn't in a mental space to be able to be there for her. But I kept the door open. I always kept the door open so that when my daughter, when she got older and she wanted to pursue the relationship, I didn't block that. I didn't, prevent her from doing that. And so as she was able to pursue that relationship as she got older. Today they have a relationship, right. And I would say that he and I are, I guess, more like business. We have that type of business relationship. There's no drama with us. I wouldn't say we're friends, mainly because of distance. We don't talk like that because she's an adult at this point in time. But
you guys are definitely friendly.
Yeah, we're friendly. I've gone to family events when there was a loss of a loved one. On his side of the family, and so he's come.
Y'all communicate on Facebook from time to time.
We communicate on Facebook, and so we're friendly. There's no drama. There's no, we were both able to get past the emotional part and let that stuff go and move on. Whereas it's about her. I mean, I'm happy that she has a relationship with him today. My grandkids have a relationship with their other grandfather. That's a part of her life, and for me, when Glenn and I got together, I had never dealt with anybody that had children because I had heard all the horror stories of baby mama drama, not realizing that I could have been that same person. But
no, not you.
Yeah, but I never really dealt with anybody, and so that was my first experience dealing with a blended situation. Yeah. But I had always said I never would because I had heard about all of the drama, and I think the thing for us that was key was that when we did get together, I knew that I didn't want that.
Right.
That either there was going to be I wasn't going to have any relationship with this person, or it was going to have to be one that there was mutual respect.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't going to do that whole drama. I wasn't going to be doing that whole going back and forth and stuff. And it was weird actually in the beginning because Deirdre actually reached out to me first to try to initiate a friendship.
Yeah.
And it took me it took me aback. I have to be honest. Initially, I'm like, what? Huh? I don't want to be your friend. Because I
Right,
didn't
because
understand.
society was like, that ain't what you're supposed to do.
Right, and also because of the family history on your side, there was a lot of insecurity on my part, if I have to be honest, because I knew that there
Uh,
was this family
and
relationship.
there was a history.
It's like she was entrenched in his family, even though they weren't together. And so with my sister-in-law, she had a great relationship with my sister-in-law, with my new mother-in-law, and I felt like the outsider
Ah,
coming in.
got it.
And so the last thing I wanted to do, I didn't want to embrace her initially because I'm like, well, what does that make me? What if we like, I would joke back then, sister wives, but now today I do say we're sister friends.
Yeah,
Not
no sister wife.
not sister
Yeah,
wives. No, we're sister friends.
we ain't into that. I can all I do is all I can do to keep up with one.
Right.
No, we
Right. But it was weird because that's not what the culture taught.
Right,
The
right,
culture
right,
taught
right.
that you weren't going to accept this person, that you were going to be the outsider, you weren't going to be included, and we were able to overcome that, and we became a family. All of us became a family.
We did.
And today, a couple of months ago, we went on a cruise with her and her husband, just Glenn and I and her husband. And we had a great time, and we were able to spend time together as friends. Just it wasn't even about Justin.
It wasn't about a kid at all.
We were just some friends out enjoying ourselves.
So I can hear people thinking, yeah, that's y'all. That sounds all hunky dory and great and da da da. But how did you do that? And I want to talk about a couple of things, and I don't have anything written down, but these are just some off the top of my head. A couple of things that just come to mind that was particularly important. And the first one is that we understood the purpose. I want y'all to put that in the chat. The purpose of blending the family. We understood fundamentally from the very beginning that there was a larger purpose here other than us just being in love.
Right.
Other than just us raising a child. There was a greater purpose. Put that in the chat. Purpose, purpose, purpose. I think that one of the things, and this is something that you and I both kind of came to the relationship with, and that was this idea that what we're doing is bigger than us.
Right.
What we're even attempting. The fact that you chose to accept my love.
Mm-hmm.
You were choosing to accept what came with that.
Right.
The fact that I chose to marry you out of the choices that I may have had, right? Mm-hmm. I chose you. And in me choosing you, I also chose your daughter, your family dynamics, the whole 9 yards, right? So clearly in us choosing one another, we were also choosing to embrace a bigger purpose or the bigger picture.
Right. And I think that that's one thing, if I have to be honest, I think that this is one thing that trips people up in the beginning. When you get involved with a person that has children, I honestly don't believe that people really consider that. I think they're so focused on that person. Ooh, I like you. I'm in love with you. They don't look at the big picture.
No.
I know for me, when I dated people, even when Glenn and I dated, I was very clear. This is a package deal.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you were.
This is even
long before I met Shantae in that regard.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I believe that, and I know a lot of people, especially in the church, believe you don't bring people around your children when you're dating. But I think they take it to the extreme. I believe you got to get to know a person first before you bring them around your child. Sure. But I think you have to allow them to interact with your child because you need to see how they interact with your child.
That's good, babe.
To see how your child interacts with them. Because I was a parent. If my daughter had any issue with Glenn, if there was something she wasn't feeling him,
that's a red flag.
If there was something that I don't like him, I honestly, for me, I would have taken that into serious consideration because if I'm going to marry this person,
right,
they have to have a relationship with my daughter.
And one of the things I want to stop really quickly, so we're talking about, and guys, I want y'all to put that in the chat because I'm not writing this down, so I'm not going to remember it, but we're talking about purpose. Step one, how do you blend a family? How do you go from, a toxic oil and water, bleach and ammonia type relationship to more of a business partner, sort of a contractual agreement that you're saying, hey, we're going to do this for the greater good, to actually becoming super friends or a ride or die type relationship. How do you do that? Number one, you have to recognize that there's a bigger purpose at play.
And the purpose is to create a family.
Correct. And I need you guys, absolutely. And when you say family, that's with all the moving parts
Right.
involved. When you get focused on the bigger purpose, or what I could call the macro of the scenario, the top down view, it allows you to drill down on the relationship in a way that becomes very, very intentional. It's very, like, you're intentionally including it. You're intentionally saying things to the children, knowing that it's going to get back. Guys, there's a navigating and in other words, listen, if my son is going to go back and report,
right, which they
do, right, whether they want to or not,
right.
They don't mean to, they're just children, they're just saying, well, we did this and we,
right.
The question is, what message is he carrying?
Right.
And do I get a chance to somewhat inform the narrative on that message, to send a message of inclusion,
right,
of wanting to grow, of health,
right,
to the co-parent, right? Because we're going to talk about that a little bit next week when we get into this with Gerald and Tanya, because we're going to talk about the dynamics and how to navigate. So I want you guys to understand that there has to be a bigger purpose. There has to be, yes, that's the goal, or the bottom line. Absolutely, Tanika, good. I love that. There has to be a larger reason that you're doing this.
right,
Because the other stuff will continue to fade over time. And so for you and I, we realized and we recognized, and I was clear, I was Sheri's second husband, third husband. I was clear on that.
Mm-hmm.
I was clear that Shantae had two fathers before me. I was super clear. I was clear. You got to explain that when you say, we talked about that. She had two stepfathers, if you will, prior to me.
Her biological father and a stepfather.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Absolutely. So she had two fathers before me. See how you got me off? I'm just calm down.
Okay.
Calm down. I got a point I'm making here. So the point I'm making is, guys, is that when you're clear on the bigger picture, it helps you to get super focused on the natural. So I want to say purpose is number one. The second thing I want you to consider, and this is just, again, off the top of my head, some things that I know that we sort of, is the person in the co-parent.
Mm.
Number one is purpose, the bigger picture, right? The huge, but the second part is the person.
Right.
I think that, Sheri, what I had to do, and I can say this particularly where Clifford is concerned, that Shantae's biological dad. As much as he may have made bad decisions prior to me getting involved, here's what I had to realize about him, the person, that he was a person.
Right.
And people made bad calls.
Right.
Including me.
Right.
I was super clear that I didn't deserve another chance. Let me just be dead real. I was super clear as I'm navigating the relationship with you and your daughter. I'm recognizing that this is a second chance for me to do this right.
Right.
With that in mind, I'm thinking about the history of the 12 years that Deidre and I were together and how I screwed that up royally. And I'm using my words here because I could say some choice words.
Right.
How I absolutely screwed that up.
Right.
So in terms of judging your ex-husbands, I couldn't do that.
Right, and I think that's key. You can't judge that person.
I just couldn't do that. Not with integrity.
When we walk into the relationship and you already have these preconceived judgments or you've made up in your mind, this is this person. Number one, remember, people change.
Yeah.
And they may have made some mistakes in the past, but that doesn't mean that they can't change and they can't evolve. And everybody does evolve at some point in their life. And so I think being open to that and trying to create an environment that allows them to evolve in the relationship with their child is beneficial to the child.
Yeah.
And just because a person was a jerk to you does not mean they're going to be a jerk to their child.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's
just because you didn't have a good relationship with this person and your relationship ended now does not mean that that's how they're going to relate to their child.
Right.
And also the thing I think a lot of people don't take into consideration, when you break up, when a relationship goes south, there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of things that go on. And so in the beginning, it may be really, really icky.
Yeah.
They may, because there's emotion involved, and you both have to grow past that emotional part, right, and are able to let go and, right, forgive.
Right.
But you have to create an environment that allows that.
That brings me to my third P. I love it. Keep going.
But if you keep fostering that, if you keep going back and forth, if you keep harping on, well, when we was together, you did this, and yada yada yada, and you keep going on that, you never get to go past that for either of you to be able to heal, to be able to now become healthy in order to have a healthy relationship with the child.
So I want y'all to put in the chat, number one, we said that it was purpose. If you're going to talk about how do you grow the kind of relationship that you have with your co-parent, there has to be a bigger purpose. You have to define a larger goal. I have to have a bigger reason other than the fact that, we got a child together. There has to be a bigger purpose. And we're saying that the idea of bringing an entire family is a purpose worth defining, right?
And can I make one?
Let me finish, and then you go back.
Okay.
Number two, because I'll forget, because I know we need this down. This is all off the top of my head. Okay. Number two, we said you have to be concerned about the person. I had to remember that my wife's ex-husband was a human being, mm-hmm, and that he deserved every shot, every opportunity, mm-hmm, should he want to take advantage of it. He deserved for the door to be open. Right. So for me, I quickly started working on, and this was a work in of itself, how to get my ego off the table, how to get my ego out of the way. Because as a man, certainly if you feel some type of way because you feel like a third wheel, if that's not your biological child, and so on and so forth. And the third thing I want to stress that it takes is for you to push. Put that in the chat. Push. What I mean when I say push, babe, is that it is going to be hard. You're going to have to be willing to show up and be super consistent and push your way through the ickiness, push your way through the dark tunnel, push your way through the emotions that you're feeling at the moment, push your way through because of the purpose, because of the person. I am willing to push.
Right.
Does that make sense? Right. And when I do that, what happens is that I think that something beautiful can evolve as a result of that, and you can get to, if I had to go to a fourth P, you could get to paradise. You could get to a place where it's sweeter than it was the day before.
Right. And I just was going to go back. When we talk about purpose, and we're talking about the purpose is family, you have to remember your child has a right to know the other side of their family.
Sure they do.
And I think that we do our children a disservice because our relationship breaks off with this person, that we totally cut off, mm-hmm, that family. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's fair to the child. Biologically, yep, they're connected to these people. They're connected to that side of their family.
Yep.
Whether you like them or you don't like them, that's still their family. I mean, if you think about your family, right, I'm sure there are members of your family that, right, you don't necessarily like, but that's still your family.
Y'all connected.
That's still your family. And so I think this is where, we have to get past our emotions. We have to get past our ego. We have to get past, all of those feelings that we have in order to focus on the bigger cause, which is about being a family, because that's their family regardless. But their biological father or their biological mother is still their family, regardless of how you feel about that person or what happened between you.
Look, let me just jump in really quickly. One of the things that nowadays we have all these different third-party entities, thank you, who are, flat out businesses. When I think about Ancestry.com, when I think about all these different businesses where people are attempting to reconnect with their families. You got a ton of efforts out here where you have kids who have been adopted, who have this insatiable appetite to discover or find their biological parents and things like that. I think inherent within all of us is this yearning to connect. God created in us this vacuum, mm-hmm, that is only filled with the connections of certain kinds of relationships. When I think about fatherless children, right, there is a void, and inside of every child that's shaped like a father, shaped like their father, right? And so we know what the statistics are saying and all that kind of stuff in terms of when kids are coming up in environments where their families are just jacked up and torn apart. So here's what I need you guys to clearly get. The reason why all of this stuff is important is because the bigger purpose of it is that it produces whole children.
Right.
And I think that unfortunately, when we get to see kids grow up and they are unhealthy and they begin to perform that way, so now they're not connected. Now they're going through school and their schoolwork is lackluster. Now they're uncertain as to who they are, what they want in life. I think a lot of that has to do with how their family dynamics are shaped. And if we can, as parents, make it easier
Mm-hmm.
by swallowing our own pride, by getting out of the way, by not making ourselves the main thing, then I think that we could evolve and get to the place of where we're creating environments where kids don't have to, as King Leo would say, don't have to recover from their childhood. Kids that grow up, become adults, to have to recover from their childhood. I think that's a tragedy. And I think that unfortunately, most of us are creating those environments unknowingly
Right.
by holding on to stuff with our co-parents and not allowing the relationship to grow. Now, do the co-parent have something to play in this?
Yeah.
Absolutely. As coaches, we coach people on a regular basis, and if you're interested in coaching with us, we can teach you how to get them on board, how to get them to buy in, how to be able to have a relationship if they don't. How does it look to be able to navigate? We work on those things, but for the purposes of this broadcast, I just need you guys to understand these three P's. It's got to be a purpose bigger than you. You got to consider the other or the co-parent as a person,
Right.
as an individual person with real feelings, and have to deal with that. And then the last thing is that you have. What did I say? The last thing was, I forgot.
Push.
You have to push. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tanika. Thank you, because I had not wrote that down. For all my content creators. You never want to do that. You want to write it down. But the point I'm making is that's where you push, because at the end of the day, I'd like to think that the family that you're building is absolutely worth it.
Right, and the family is bigger than just you and your child.
Yeah.
It's all of your extended family, and I think if you focus on that, on creating an environment that fosters family,
Yeah.
It'll help you to be able to move beyond you, move beyond your emotions,
100%.
and create an environment. And when it comes to raising children, you need a tribe.
Yeah, you do.
You need that community, and your
You
family should be part of that community.
Absolutely.
Having that extended family as a part of their life helps them to, like Glenn said, know their identity.
Yep.
It fills a void.
Yeah.
It provides support.
Yep.
A lot of times, single parents they're trying to do this on their own for whatever reason. They may be displaced because they relocated and they don't have family. And I've watched them struggle because you don't have that support
100%.
system. And so if you can have that support, utilize it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard for me to believe that, in a co-parenting type situation that everybody on that side of the family is evil.
Right.
Right. There's somebody over there that I think that you can stay connected with. And
Yeah.
I think that we have to push past our emotions a lot of times to be able to identify how we can keep our child connected to their family.
Yeah.
Keep them connected. Ideally, it's great if it can be with their actual co-parent.
Yep.
But keeping that door open,
Yeah.
I think is the key.
Last thing real quick, guys, this is where Sheri and I, we got help when we were coming along, and we surrounded ourselves. We built a tribe. Part of that tribe was our therapists.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that tribe was our coaches. Part of that tribe were mentors. Part of that tribe was people who were friends of ours that was doing it on another level, and we just aspired to be like them, and they would be willing to tell us, the behind the scenes stuff of, do this. I can't tell you how many books we've read on this subject. And so we're not just showing up in this space talking about something that we've heard. We've lived this, and it's possible. Next week, I really am excited, and we're going to tune in, Lord willing, with a couple who is doing this. I think they're blending 5 or 6 kids with a couple of different dynamics going on, and some grown, some not. But we're going to bring them on, and we're going to kind of talk about what this looks like in real life Gerald and Tanya Williamson. They also are founders of Married to the Ring. It's an event, an organization that does similar things that we do, but different. And so I'm excited to kind of team up with them for an event that we're going to do in November. It's the Power of Covenant couples retreat, and so it's a couples retreat, particularly for couples who are blending families. We're really going to drill down on some different things. There are some different things that we're going to do live November the 18th through the 23rd. It's the week before Thanksgiving, that you guys really should want to be a part of. So if you haven't already, take a quick look at www.thecrcoach.com. If you know anybody that should be involved in that, please tag them and let them know. But we're going to get out of here for the day, and hopefully we'll see you guys back next week. At the end of the day, guys, please, please, please understand that in order to get to where you want to be, that place of significance, you're going to need some help. At the end of the day, we all need some help. Y'all be good. Have a good Saturday. We'll talk soon.